Welcome back to Tales Recapped. Today I'm going to explain the film called Career Opportunities, released in 1991. Spoilers ahead, watch out, and stay safe. The movie begins with the news outbreak being reported about the notorious suspects of a murder in Salzburg, Nestor Pyle and Jill Kinney. The victim is killed in a robbery case which has alarmed the cops and the public. Jim, a good-for-nothing, lazy, and lying teenage guy, tries to debunk the case after reading the newspaper. Jim acts as if he's a professional guy reporting his facts as he tells his pet audience that he's a former staff in the FBI crime unit. While Jim brags about his assessment to his pet audience, someone from behind him sneakily enters the room where he currently stays. To Jim's surprise, his boss, Hubby, kicks the foot of the chair, which causes him to fall to the floor. Moments later, Hubby drags Jim to the door and sends him out of the animal hospital that he works for. Hubby informs Jim that he's firing him from his work. Jim narrates another lie from the kids he knew from the town. He keeps on telling his make-up stories. It can be visualized from these children's faces that they admire Jim's words. Jim brags about his European explorations and investments and elaborates on his business abroad. Jim goes to his former employer in the gas station to negotiate being rehired once again to his small business. However, Jim's boss knows better. Jim is lazy and incapable of performing his job correctly. Jim's boss declines his bargain despite his free service offer and encourages Jim to consider St. Louis. Moments later, a gorgeous lady, Josie, who seemingly radiates a spoiled rich girl vibe, arrives at the gas station to fill her car's tank. Jim, sitting meters away from her, is captivated by her beauty as he shamelessly stares at her features. Josie sees the ogling Jim positioning himself with a cool guy posture to impress her. The two exchange flirtatious smiles until Jim's father, Bud, breaks their eye contact when he grabs his attention to scold him about his joblessness once again. Bud confronts Jim after receiving a call from Hubby to report that his son is already terminated from his work. Jim denies Bud's accusation and defends himself by telling his father that he resigned. Upon hearing Jim's excuses, Bud drags Jim towards his cement mixer truck trying to bring him home and knock off some senses into his delusional son. While the Dodge family eats their dinner, Jim's family criticizes him for being an easy-go-lucky jobless. Budgets are tired of Jim's laziness and no life direction stunts, so he warns Jim to pay for his rent. Upon hearing these absurd remarks, Jim walks out and goes to his room to sleep. Morning arrives, Bud drives Jim towards Target to push him for an interview, or Jim will be put on a bus to St. Louis to work as a gardener. Jim tries to fail the interview as he dislikes the idea of working at Target, but the hiring manager offers Jim a good deal as he mistook him for an operational manager. Jim acts so highly and pretends to be a high-profile applicant. However, a telephone call interrupts their interview, which allows the hiring manager to discover that Jim is a fraud. So he immediately settles the misunderstanding and hires Jim in a low-paying position, a night cleanup boy at Target. Left with no choice and Bud's warning, Jim agrees to this position to continue staying at their house. Josie's abusive father, Roger, entertains some visitors in his house, namely Bob and Dave. Roger sees his daughter around the living room to introduce Josie to his affiliates, and the latter goes in their direction to greet them. But to Roger's surprise, Josie performs an unexpected stunt as she drops a smooch on Bob's lips upon introduction. The disbelief on Roger's face manifests his anger and disappointment with his rebellious action toward Josie. So when night arrives, Roger confronts Josie in her room and threatens to hurt her to discipline her for her shameful behavior. A car is parked in a dark area containing a couple who are exchanging sweet smooches from the inside. Suddenly, the suspects from the robbery case, Nestor and Jill, appear, which startles the man and lady from their makeout session. The suspect drags the couple outside to steal their vehicle and make it a getaway car. Bud and her wife clean their backyard when they see a limousine parking in their driveway. Jim suddenly exits their front door as his first day at work arrives. Bud questions the presence of the luxurious vehicle. Jim explains that it will send him on his work at Target, a welcoming reward he gives himself on his first day. Jim's parents only watch their son's unbelievable departure as he leaves, full of pretension and deception about his current position at Target. Josie browses Target's aisle as she chooses several items and decides to shoplift. For every product that reaches her taste, she either hides it inside her coat or wears the clothing above her clothing. Josie expertly hides the goods despite the threat of being caught. On the other hand, Jim finally arrives at Target and acts like the operational manager and orders one of the sales clerks to fix the goods in the stall. Minutes later, the radio announces that the store will be closing, which marks the start of his shift. Upon hearing the announcement, Josie feels bothered by her decision to shoplift. so she goes to the dressing room. Meanwhile, the store finally closes, and Jim receives an orientation with his job description from his grumpy and bossy head custodian. Due to his intimidating approach, Jim follows him around the massive store as he informs him about the tasks that he needs to accomplish. After telling him everything, Jim finds out that he'll be left alone inside the store till 7 in the morning, and the lights will be turned off to save some electricity. Being rebellious as Jim is, he defies the head custodian's order and turns on the electricity to flood Target with light. Jim starts to do his job by sweeping, wiping, vacuuming, and throwing the garbage inside. But Jim, being lazy, has to do his task as fast as possible, so he uses cleaning machines and several materials to make his job easier and faster. When he pushes the trolley containing the trash towards the disposal area, he sees that he has all night, and yet he's almost done with his work. Jim decides to take a break. Jim explores the stores as he eats, reads, plays, and even watches a movie on the television. Due to his boredom, Jim entertains himself to waste some time and energy as time passes by. Jim, wearing his tank top and boxer shorts, uses roller skates to roam the massive store on his own. Surprisingly, he sees somebody observing him, but chooses to ignore it, as he knows he's alone in Target. When Jim smoothly glides his skates to continue his activity, he notices Josie, who is staring at him as if she is waiting for his arrival. With Josie's sudden appearance, Jim smacks himself in 3 stalls displayed in an aisle and loses his balance. Officer Dawn and Roger search for Josie's whereabouts as she escaped from her father's house. Roger seeks to find her rebellious daughter as midnight almost waves at them. Roger orders Officer Dawn to continue their search party to locate the missing Josie. Jim interrogates Josie as he wonders about her presence inside Target despite the shop being closed for 5 hours. Josie reveals that she fell asleep in the dressing room as she decided to shoplift or not, just to anger and embarrass her abusive father. After that, Jim and Josie feel hungry, so they choose to maximize their resources and consume Target's products. During their meal, Jim reveals that everybody views Josie as a flirtatious tease, while Jim is labeled as the town's biggest liar. Josie and Jim start to reconnect during their conversation and realize that their lives are somehow similar. Josie and Jim discuss their life situation as they figure out what their personal and familiar struggles are. However, conflicts in their conversation arise, and upon hearing the offensive remarks from Josie's mouth, Jim walks off to blow off some steam. But Josie perseveres to swoon the offended Jim and encourage him to become true to himself. So she does everything to persuade him to forgive her. Meanwhile, the suspects from the store robbery stop near Target and plan to rob the vast store. Josie tells Jim about her abusive experiences from her father's hand, so she's willing to escape and invites him to elope with her. With $52,000 in her purse, Josie convinces Jim to run away with her when morning comes. Josie tells Jim that they need a getaway car that will help them accomplish their plan. After that, Josie offers to fulfill a wish from Jim before sunrise, and the latter requests to finish their unfinished homecoming high school dance. Josie is amazed by Jim's desire, as she expected something advantageous from him, so she grants it. Jim and Josie begin to form a romantic connection after the romantic dance. This allows Jim and Josie to level up their relationship as they become sweet and explore each other's bodies. However, their lovey-dovey session is interrupted by Officer Dawn's arrival as he notes the lights open in Target. Officer Dawn also asks Jim about Josie's whereabouts, but he denies meeting her before her disappearance. Jim tries suggesting places where Josie might have stayed, so the officer takes this bait and returns to the police mobile, where Roger waits. Upon hearing useless information, Roger orders Dawn to roam and search the area together to check and find his missing daughter. After that, Jim and Josie enjoy their freedom to explore and enjoy the store's amenities. They use the roller skates together as they become lovey-dovey, as if they're a couple who are dating. Suddenly, they notice Nestor and Jill waiting for their arrival as they point their gun at them. Due to their fast approach, they bump into Nestor and Jill, but it didn't stop those notorious robbers from taking them hostage. Nestor and Jill interrogate their captives to gather helpful information to accomplish their plan. Jim comes up with a plan and tries to deceive the culprits using his lying skills. His make-up story deceives Nestor and Jill for a while. Unfortunately, Jim is deceived by believing Nestor and Jill to carry toy guns. Nestor and Jill retrieve their weapons as they prove the authority of their weapons. Josie comes up with another plan, and she'll use her title of being a tease to persuade the criminals not to hurt them. Josie uses her alluring beauty to capture Nestor and Jill and distract them by leading them on. Josie seduces both males as she sexily rides the toy horse on Target, encouraging Nestor and Jill to bring their guard down. When the toy stops moving, Josie asks the boys for some coins to continue their ride. Nestor comes over and tries flirting with her. Josie accomplishes her mission. She's got these criminals right in the palm of her hand. Through the help of Josie, Nestor and Jill rob Target and collect the goods that they find helpful. Josie uses her charm to lure Nestor so that he'll be kind and will not hurt her and Jim in the process of robbing the store. However, Jim notices that Josie sides with the criminals, so he asks her to stop her stunts. But the woman declines. To Jim's surprise, Nestor and Jill take over as they warn him to stop meddling with their business. When Nestor, Jill, and Josie decide to leave, they decide to arrange the things they have gathered for the car they stole. Nestor and Jill are in charge of organizing the pieces of stuff from the truck, while Josie stays pretty on the side and watches them. When Josie knows that Nestor and Jill are distracted enough, she uses this time to enter the car and escape. The two are helpless to Josie's move and the woman deceives them, so they have decided to go back inside to locate Jim. Jim now knows better. He goes to the head custodian's locker to pick up his gun that he can use to defend himself from the criminals. Jim prepares himself to capture Nestor and Jill and then hides before executing his little announcement distraction plan. Nestor and Jill take this bait and are overwhelmed that the tables have turned. Jim can disarm them, and now they are the hostages. Meanwhile, Roger and Bud are dining in a breakfast bar where both the fathers look tired and bothered, highly visible on their faces. In the morning, Officer Don arrives at Target and checks the vicinity of the Catholic-looking store. He investigates and matches the surroundings and sees Nestor and Jill tied up and looking pitiful while sitting in the lounge chair displayed in the store. The movie ends when Josie comes back to pick Jim up from the end of his shift. Jim and Josie ride the limousine to check the town once more before they decide to leave. Jim and Josie choose to run away and are now lounging next to a pool to enjoy the relaxing ambiance in Hollywood. Subscribe for more videos like this, and don't forget to turn on the notification bell icon. And lastly, leave a like as it will really help the channel out. Thanks for watching.